My name is Dr. Kevin Pecca. I wanted to make a podcast that exposes people to the true miracles of life and health. All the guests on this show have been specially picked because they bring something positive to the world. They have some of the most amazing and inspiring life stories. These people have a passion for living, healing, and leaving the world better than they found it. There is something inside these people that made them keep fighting through all the tough times, even when people told them it was not possible. They carried on and made their lives beautiful again. And now they are sharing their experiences with the world. This is the Expect Miracles podcast. Enjoy the show. Today on the podcast, we have Sachiko Tiana. Sachiko has an incredibly inspiring life story that started out with very humble beginnings. It truly is amazing how beautiful she has made her life, and she is helping others do the same. Sachiko is an entrepreneur, singer, and is also host of the Wait for the Dawn podcast, available on iTunes and other podcast playing platforms. Sachiko proves to us that there is no struggle that cannot be overcome by finding your passion and trusting your gut feeling. She also explains the 4% rule to help you achieve your goals and dreams. Please welcome Sachiko Tiana. Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest. We have Sachiko Tiana. Sachiko, where are you from originally?
Oh gosh, that question always gets me. I was born in San Francisco, but I've lived in Queens, New York, and now I live in Southern California.
How did you like living on the East Coast compared to the West Coast?
I think in my heart, I'm an East Coaster, like deep down in my heart.
Way down there?
The East. Well, way down there, because I've been in Southern California for 27 years or something. But I love, anytime I get to go back East, I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is the best time of year to come right now.
Is it? Isn't it hot and humid out there?
So we have a very rare week going on right now where it's kind of like California. There's no humidity. It's beautiful out. It's really nice.
Awesome.
We'll see how long that lasts till the humidity.
Yeah, cross your fingers.
Yeah, actually, I guess the fall would probably be the best time.
Sure. And you're in what part of Jersey?
I'm in North Jersey in like Montclair. So like 12 miles northwest of New York City.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm pretty close. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So Sachiko, so you grew up in San Francisco originally? Your early days?
Like 2 years. Like when I was 2, we moved to Orange County, which is where my brother was born.
Okay. And what were those beginning years like for you?
So not that I remember those 2 years specifically, but I was born in San Francisco. Both my parents weren't married. Unfortunately, they had gotten into drugs and just kind of a crazy lifestyle, which is why we moved around so much.
Mm-hmm.
And so we moved to Orange County. My brother was born and I was about 2.5. And then we moved to Queens, New York. And my little sister was born in Queens. So we bounced around a bit. And then when I was 7, my mom passed away. So my little sister was only 18 months old at the time.
7 years old. So what do you remember from that young of an age about your mom and everything?
So, I have a couple fun memories. Like my mom was obsessed with Dirty Dancing.
Really?
And Patrick Swayze. And I just remember growing up, loving Dirty Dancing and just having a good time. But then I also remember kind of her downward spiral. So one of the most vivid memories of my mom is being in the bathroom with her. And I don't know what we were talking about, but all of a sudden she looked at me, kind of looked in the mirror and looked at me. And she was like, "Look at you. You're so pretty." And then smashed my face into the mirror.
Smashed your face into the mirror?
Yes. Thankfully, I wasn't hurt. She didn't do it very hard, but it was
That's still wild.
Very jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then my dad walked in and kind of threw me out of the bathroom, and she was taken away in an ambulance that night and then was in the hospital for a little bit. And then I don't even know that I fully understand this, but I just remember her coming home and just laying on the couch and walking past her and stopping to see that she was breathing. And then, continue. Once I saw that she was breathing, then I would keep walking. And she was like that for a really long time. In Kidland, I don't know how long that is.
What, just stationary like that?
Yeah, just like slowly losing life, slowly.
What was her drug of choice mostly?
For both of them, my understanding is it was crack cocaine. I remember seeing my dad with his crack pipes and obviously Queens at that time is, it's kind of common. It was pretty common back in that time of life. So, and I know there was probably other stuff that I'm just not even aware of.
Yeah.
And so her death, part of the problem though, was that in using drugs and connecting with different people, both of my parents had contracted HIV.
Okay.
And so my mom got tuberculosis and passed away when I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the 3 of us were left with my dad, who was a drug addict and now a single parent of 3.
And what was life like after your mom passed away?
The main things I remember are being terrified of him. He just was not a stable dude. And so it was always kind of walking around on eggshells. I remember his love of music. So we had like a reel-to-reel kind of janky recording system set up in the garage.
Nice.
And he introduced me to my love of Sade and Michael Jackson.
Nice.
He used to make me write a poem every day. And so I have a lot of great memories of my dad. And then then he was just really physically abusive and really just incapable of taking care of 3 kids. And so my job became doing the chores at home and helping my siblings get ready.
And so you were obviously the oldest.
I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, I became like the kind of pseudo mom of the family. And then when I was 11, my dad's disease got the best of him and he passed away.
Wow.
So, that whole process was really kind of chaotic and something that I can speak about without attachment, without emotional distress, because I really do look at all of that stuff as a blessing in a way. And maybe that sounds crazy, but I feel like I had to go through these things in order to be able to give everything I have to give to people that I'm obsessive about.
Absolutely.
And, and I remember my dad, he used to do crazy stuff, like try and send me to go get him drugs and alcohol, to buy cigarettes from the store, which he would never sell me cigarettes. But I remember he would take us sometimes with him when we knew he was buying drugs, but we didn't go inside. And there was this one time we were in the car and it was my 2, siblings and I, and instinctively, I don't think I knew this consciously, but I just would always sing when we were in the car to kind of distract my siblings from what was going on and probably internally to feel better. So I would just sing at the top of my lungs, 10, 11 years old. And I remember this one time, whoever my dad was meeting with kind of popped his head into the van after they had met and was like, "Is that your daughter singing in there?" And my dad's like, yeah, she's always singing. She never shuts up, that kind of thing. And he kind of looked at me and pointed and he's like, "You're really something special."
Wow.
And walked away. And of course, like validation from a drug dealer isn't that special.
But anyway, it's just a stranger he didn't have to do that. Like, it's just a stranger coming up to you and says, like, you have a gift. Like,
totally.
Right?
Well, and I think when I look back, I feel like it's my dream and the music and the things that I'm the most passionate about that have kept me kind of sane all this time, going through all of this chaos, the physical abuse, the drug abuse, sexual abuse. There's lots of layers of this stuff. And having gone through that, being able to kind of hold on tight to my hope of this dream of music, which looks very different than it did when I was 10 now, but
you're still doing it.
It's it was my lifeline.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for the stories I get to tell and the people I get to connect to through my life and through my music.
Absolutely. So you're 11 years old at this point. You don't have any parents. What's next? Where do you go from there?
So we moved in with my aunt, who's a single mom of 1. And she eventually legally adopted all 3 of us.
Is she in Queens as well?
No. So after my mom passed away, I forgot this in the story. After my mom passed away, we actually moved back out here to Southern California.
Gotcha. Okay.
So a lot of that craziness was happening out here in Fullerton, which is where I mostly grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And then my aunt adopted me and my brother and sister. So when I say mom now, I'm talking about my aunt.
Gotcha.
People always get confused. But so she was able to legally adopt us at 13. And of course, having gone through all that stuff, we had a lot of things to work through, things
Oh,
we're still
yeah.
working through, things
Absolutely.
we might forever have to work through. And like, she's the most amazing, gracious, kind, just good-hearted person in the world, but so not really equipped to deal with the emotional. It was kind of like,
Yeah.
I can take care of the physical needs, and like, that's her max capacity, because she
Yeah.
just lost her brother, and she, you know, she went through stuff too. So, and I went through a period of being I was a total daddy's girl, like through and through. So regardless of the fact that I was terrified of him, I always wanted to be around him.
Yeah.
And my aunt and my grandma, my now mom and my grandma, had to set a lot of boundaries with him, being a drug addict and being, you know, just not really concerned with other people much. He was always taking advantage and stealing and, you know, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And they eventually hit their kind of understandable threshold and asked him to leave. And so for a long time, I had to work through my anger with them for asking him to leave, because I didn't get it at the time. That was my dad.
Right.
You know,
well, you're so young too.
him around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Then I developed an eating disorder at 15, which is total, you know, an issue of control, which makes sense. And it wasn't until I was about, kind of went, you know, up and down in my own journey of adulthood for many years. And then when I was about 24, I think my faith, I think I just kind of I did a lot of stupid stuff in my early 20s,
yeah.
which many people do. But I think I kind of stopped at 24 and realized like the life that I want, the life that I feel like I was purposed for, and the things I have to offer people require me to grow through this stuff, deal with these things, and do the hard work and have the hard conversations with myself and other people, and sort of fight for sanity, if you will. And so, you know, I'm almost 33 now. And so for the last kind of 8-9 years, it's been this sort of slow evolution and development of healthy thinking patterns and life skills and regular stuff.
Was there anything that happened at 24 where you're like, I really got to face this? Or was there like a moment that really made you start to evaluate the past and just force you to grow and to deprogram everything?
Yeah. You know, I just remember, so I graduated high school at 17. I moved right out, like 2 weeks later, moved into my own place. You know, my aunt, mom had taught us how to do our own laundry, and I had opened a bank account when I was 15. And so got my first job at 15. So I was very independent. So I just pieced out, got my own job, started going to school. I did really well in high school, but school just is not my jam.
Yeah.
I'm a total entrepreneur through and through. Not that you can't go to school as an entrepreneur, but I just wanted to do stuff. So I kind of was in and out of school, and then in and out of different relationships, and bounced around. I think to this day, from high school graduation to now, which is only about 15 years, I probably moved somewhere in the neighborhood of 34, 35 times.
Wow.
Total.
Wow.
So I needed newness and freshness. So I would just move and do new things instead of dealing internally. And, you know, opened credit cards, made a lot of stupid financial decisions. And then I finally got back home. At 24, I landed back at my mom's house, my aunt mom. And I remember laying on my bed in my bedroom that I shared with my sister and just being like, I'm 24 years old. What am I doing with my life? And I just, you know, I've had so many conversations with different people about dreams and the depth I have and the things I know I have to give. I just wasn't putting any energy there because I didn't believe that I was worthy of them. And so so at 24, or in that moment, I got reconnected with different friends, reconnected with an old church, reconnected with my faith, and started this sort of deep personal development journey. And it's not been a, you know, like up and away kind of experience. There's been a lot of breakdowns and kind of breakthroughs and then breakdowns and breakthroughs. But I now know with all of my heart and soul that Like, I think that everyone is just so much more capable of happiness and contentment and joy and service when we're doing and connected to our passions, when we're like plugged in at least a little bit to what we're most passionate about. And I believe that at, 10 years old, while my dad was buying drugs, that connection to my passion is what kept me on, on this trajectory, despite crazy decisions and chaos. I believe that's what got me here. And, there was a period of time in adulthood where like I said, I didn't believe that those things were possible for me. So I kind of abandoned my little girl dream of singing. And in the last couple of years, now that I've reconnected to that dream, I feel almost obsessive, like neurotic, like a crazy person about everyone having that feeling. And so that's the message in everything I do in my podcast, in my music, in my business, is to spread that message of how powerful that is.
Definitely. And what are some of the things you had to do to get out of that place and start your own business and pursue the singing? And did you have to just rebuild, start from the ground up?
Yeah, I didn't have a degree. I didn't have family or resource, traditional family or resources or support. But I'm really, I graduated high school with a 4.2 GPA. Like I was a bright kid. So I'm very capable, but just didn't know how to channel it the right way. And so I moved a lot and worked from job to job. And in 2013, I had kind of worked my way up at a company, and then long story short, got laid off. And then I started working for another company in 2014, and then subsequently got laid off again. And just something in me kind of clicked, like, okay, I'm trying to do this sort of beaten path route. I'm trying to do the school and then the corporate and, be regular.
The cookie
and it's not working.
Kind of like what you're supposed to do to get ahead. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And finally, I realized I could figure out how to get laid off all by myself. I didn't need to work my way at a company for that. And so I finally just in 2014, after working in corporate events and training and working with independent contractors and kind of all these different things that I had done, all these skills led me to feel really confident in starting my own venture. And so in July of 2014, Nuila Events was born. And we have so much fun. We work with different event types, but all revenue generating events. And we specialize and love to help our clients add an event component to help grow their business. And so we do events in Florida and in Nashville and in Louisville and of course here in Southern California, and are working on growing that. And it's totally my zone of excellence. I'm good at it. I love it. I think we do great things in the world. But like all of that whole process of working in corporate America and then starting my event company, all of that was born out of the belief that my little dream of music just wasn't really possible for me. It was just a little girl, wishing. And in early 2016, so about 2 years into my event company, I sat down with a coach. He uses a lot of hypnosis, but it's conversational hypnosis.
That's amazing. I want to get into that. I really want to do hypnosis. I've heard
I got to connect you with him.
Things. Yeah. A lot of like really famous, successful people credit hypnosis for like really helping them out and get focused.
Yeah, I totally believe that. A few years before I met with him, I had actually gotten certified in hypnosis, but I never used it. So I have this healthy appreciation for it, but the way he does it is so cool because it's all conversational. He just uses language and you don't realize however he does it.
Yeah. You don't
going deep.
Yeah. It's kind of just flowing. You don't kind of realize like you're being hypnotized or under hypnosis or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not the closing the eyes and the counting backward and,
Yeah.
It's just a conversation. And he through his process, helped me kind of reconnect with that first love and that passion. And so that was kind of early 2016. And so then at that time I started recording and I started writing and I started just kind of connecting with my producer and dabbling. It was a fun hobby at that time. And then later that year, I went to an event, and the very first day of the event, a guy at one of the networking tables asked, the age-old question, if you had $1 billion, what would you wake up and do every day? And I came to that event to represent my event company and network and, grow that business. And when he asked me that question, I just started freaking out because immediately I was like, music, and I'm here for a week representing events. Yeah, it was just my whole soul exploded. So that week, for the next couple of days, I was like, I got to quit. I got to stop I don't know what I'm doing. What's up and down. I don't know who I am anymore. And I was at a meal table a couple days later with another guy, and I explained to him my freak out. And he said, Tony Badeau, I will be forever grateful. He said, you don't have to do everything all at once. It's just 4% every day and you'll get there.
4%?
4.
All right.
4%.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's so in the entrepreneur world and kind of the hustle community. It's like, all in, go, make it
no
happen.
Days off.
Beast mode. Yeah, hustle. And there's room for that. And I certainly enjoy that and do that. But what that helped me see was it doesn't have to be this terrifying thing. It's just a little bit every day. And no one can look at 4% and be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It feels doable. It's
I really like
something.
That. Yeah.
I love it. And the more I did that, so it's been 1.5 years now. Since then, I've been able to perform at House of Blues and co-write with award-winning songwriters and, just build out this independent music business that doesn't have to look like I thought it would when I was 7, which is, record label and tour and fame and
selling out stadiums.
which, I'm not opposed to that, but I want to have full reign over how it goes.
Absolutely.
And I believe that through independent music, I don't have to prescribe to anything. I just get to be me and find my little audience.
Absolutely.
And whether that's 100 people or 100,000, we've yet to see. I'm still on the journey, but I'm doing it a little bit at a time and still running my company and still to this day have that internal battle of, is it time yet to step away? Should I keep going? And I think the truth is when you know.
Absolutely.
And then you make that jump.
Well, and the good thing about what you do too is it's not like your company is just like something that you do to make money. You love doing that as well, right? Like that's a beautiful thing. Everything that you're doing in your life, you somewhat really do love. And I think that's why it's kind of hard for you to ask, like, should I step away? Should I not? But you're really enjoying it. And a lot of people say, focus on one thing and you have to reach the masses with so many people, and you're doing everything at your own pace. And that's a beautiful thing. And you get to watch everything grow at your pace. And that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I feel that if I was doing something that really drained my energy, it would be really hard to have kind of the faith and the vision to continue doing what I'm doing. But my obsession, like I really have a vision that 5-10 years from now, or 5-10 months from now, who knows, people who grew up like me, who didn't believe that their dreams are possible, will send an email saying, hey, Sachiko, thanks for just putting your stuff out there because now I'm doing this thing.
That's amazing.
That I never believed I could do. And that is the ultimate dream for me. That's like the love of my life.
Absolutely.
I would love that. Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
So how do you balance everything with your company, with the music? How does that work? And are there ever days where it's just, even you are doing everything that you love, and even that, so you do still need a drive that is way bigger than yourself to pull you out of bed some days? What would that be for you?
Totally. I think, so I don't know that I have figured out balance yet. I'm learning how to just kind of flow with it all. And of course, delegate and get as much help as possible with the things that I'm not great at. Like I don't do any of the planning in my event company anymore. because those are the parts I don't love. And they take me way out of kind of the energetic flow I need to be in to keep doing what I'm doing. On the days where I'm disciplined, it's getting up, it's spending time. I love reading my Bible. I love reading inspirational books. I love meditation and visualization and journaling. And those practices fuel me. I think literally practicing that I'm on stage telling my story and seeing an audience full of people.
That's powerful, yeah.
Who get it. That is a big thing that fuels me. And then, and I think I have a team and different people that rely on me to be productive. And so I'm grateful for that accountability. But truthfully, one of my opportunities for growth is structure and discipline, because I am a creative, I am an entrepreneur, and I'm curious by nature. And so it's really easy for me to get really excited about what I'm working on and not be very structured. And so that balance is something I'm working with a couple different coaches on right now.
That's great.
So I think, I think the secret, I guess, is just enlisting help with the things that I'm not great at.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I talk about on my podcast, I don't even think I mentioned my podcast yet, but one of the things I talk about.
What's the name of your podcast?
Wait for the Dawn, which is all about hopes and dreams and getting through challenges in order to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But one of the things I talk about and the angle I take is, it's really easy, I think, to kind of put on the expert badge and go, I know everything there is to know about, these specific things. And while I think I have expertise in several areas, I think the thing that's the most relatable is when people share the behind the scenes, the hardships, the struggle, the days where you don't always know. One of the big conversations I've had lately is I've taken a lot of attention away from my event company, which has been my bread and butter, and focused it on my music and my podcast, which aren't comparable in any way, shape, or form in terms of revenue.
Right.
And so it's been a test of faith and really a process for me to work through the fears and the lack mentality and the, all the other things that come up. But I know I'm doing what I'm purposed to do. And I know ultimately that it will all work out, but it's a scary process to continue to take those steps. And I think the message, though, is that even though it's not clear and secure, which my corporate jobs looked clear and secure, but really weren't. So I don't really believe in that. But even though it doesn't look clear and secure, I am more fulfilled than I would ever be working for someone else, making great money, doing something I didn't absolutely love and feel fulfilled by. And, and I have this joke, like a friend of mine and I were like, he's like, I don't really think dreams are that important. I think you can work your job and you can, he's like, I don't think God really cares about dreams. Just kind of be a good person. But this guy works a full-time job and then has another kind of side job in retail. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But truthfully, he's never really even touched or pursued his dream. And so I always say that it's kind of like trying to have a debate over whether or not bacon is delicious.
Yeah.
But he's never had it and I eat it every day.
He's never had the bacon.
So it's not that his opinion isn't valid. It's just we're not having the same conversation.
Absolutely.
Until he's tasted the bacon, we can't. Absolutely. And I think my goal is to get everyone to taste their bacon a little bit. And after that conversation, he did tell me that he felt so inspired. He's like, I literally been sitting here for an hour after our conversation, trying to figure out ways I can be more courageous and take more leaps of faith toward my dream because your fire and how excited you are. I feel like I need it. And that felt like a huge win for me.
Well, what are certain steps do you think some people need to take to make that jump, to follow their dreams and accomplish what they want?
Yeah, I think that there's two schools of people. There are the people that are crystal clear. I know what my dream is. I can't wait. I'm excited, but I don't exactly see how I'll get there. And then there's I don't really know what my dream is. So I'm just kind of doing this for now and I don't really love it, but figure it out later. And I think truthfully, kind of the people in Camp A, the message for them is that 4% every day. So it's sitting down and deciding, instead of putting it off or waiting until the circumstances are perfect, it's making a decision to do 4% today. And that could be, if you're an artist, that could be sketching an outline, that could be making a phone call, that could be doing some research about a concept, just doing a little bit every day. If you're in camp B, which I find a lot of people are in, I think for them, a lot of times it's working through, I do this dream goals process where instead of, SMART goals talks about attainable and realistic. I kind of hate SMART goals.
Yeah.
And I talk more about, what is your wildest dream? What is the thing that if you had $1 billion, you'd wake up and do every day? And asking them, allowing themselves to have that conversation, because I think the system teaches us to kind of bury those as sort of juvenile and
definitely
like pipe dreams and just do the normal path and be responsible. So I think allowing themselves to ask that question and journal or have a conversation with a coach or, someone who can help them unlock that and figure it out, because it's in there. And the beautiful thing is it's written in sand. It's not set in stone. So my dream now may change in a week or two. My purpose, I think, will always be the same, but it takes on different shapes and colors.
Yeah.
So I think just allowing ourselves to have that imagination.
Absolutely.
And then once it's there, it's the same, that 4% every day. It's huge.
And can I add one thing to which I'm sure you could resonate with? Definitely pay attention to the signs. Like in your story, you got laid off of one job, went to another one, laid off another job. Like things were clearly not working out in that area of your life. And you made the bold decision to analyze that and said, you know what? I'm going to take that and I'm going to do my own thing. And I feel like that happens to people every single day. And you can keep going down that roadblock path, or you can really turn it around and analyze your life and saying like, this isn't working. Let's go the completely other direction and see what happens.
Yeah, I love that. And I think a lot of times it's not working because it's not what we love. I think God, I think the universe, source, however people view it, responds to our faith. And so when we're looking at something and we don't love it and we're dreading it, it makes sense that it's not going to work out the way it's supposed to. And that if we could just tap into those passions and those dreams, then doors really do start to open up and things start to flow. And there's a peace inside of the unknown, the question mark land that just doesn't even make sense. I'm in that kind of phase right now where I really have done a bad job of maintaining my event company while I've been doing all this other stuff. I'm just kind of willing to be honest about that. And so even though there's all this crazy circumstance stuff going on, being locked into my passions has created a peace in knowing, regardless of what happens, I know I'm in my purpose.
Absolutely.
And I know it'll all work out.
Yeah.
I just know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we don't have to have it all figured out, because I don't know if we all ever will. Just do the best you can.
Say that they, the people that say that they do,
run the other way.
Dude, I've met so many gurus and experts. We all have people who just like have all the answers. And then in events, we're always like, all right, so let's work together on events. And I don't have the budget. And it's like, I had a really, really well-known author as a client, which I'm not going to put him on blast.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful for this situation because we're a little over 2 years post-event, still haven't finished paying this invoice.
Yeah.
And it taught me that I don't need to have everything. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Basically that nobody does. So if I feel like I don't have it together, well, then I'm in good company. And that's not an excuse to not do something.
Absolutely.
No one knows what they're doing.
Oh, nobody does. And every time I feel like I have it all figured out, life smacks me very hard in the face and reminds me that I do not.
Totally. My friend Luke talks about getting hit by a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just sometimes you get smacked in the face and kind of woken up and okay, let's get grounded and remember that there's much to be grateful for and much to learn. And I don't need to seem like I've got it all figured out or prove anything. I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
And serve.
And Sachiko, what would be your advice to, kids, young adults that were going through the same thing as you, where their home situation was it wasn't good. They can't figure it out. And, having parents that are addicted to something, it's almost out of your control because you want to help them so much, but you can't really, no one ever really got sober by saying that, oh, somebody told me to do that, so I got sober. It's really got to be a very personal decision come from them. And I feel like a lot of kids can carry that weight with them and almost blame themselves or just blame themselves for not working out. So what would be your message to them and how to get their life back on track?
I think the first thing is I would say to them, your feelings are valid and your experience is real. I think a lot of times when we go through hard things and when we feel different from normal people who have parents and kind of secure, safe world, I think it can feel like we're the weirdos and that, there's all these things that I'm feeling, but I don't acknowledge or validate them. And a lot of times we're supposed to learn how to validate ourselves from our parents. And when you don't have that, you just don't know how to validate yourself. So you have a lot of these kids who become bad kids because they're seeking validation in all these different places. And so I would encourage them to just know that their experience is valid. I also feel like the same message for them is to wait for the dawn, but to think about their dreams, think about what it is that they feel like is their greatest gift, what it is that they want to give to people, and just start tapping into that and visualizing that and using that if they're in the midst of all that, using that as an outlet. Because in taking that 4% every day, it will create what they're trying to create for them. And then, I also think mentorship and school has a really great place for that kind of thing. So just spending time with mentors and people who get it, who understand the process. I think leaning toward that kind of positivity versus, going deep into that validation world that doesn't really serve us. I don't claim to be an expert. These are just the things that I did that really helped me a lot.
Right. And you don't have to seek like a professional mentorship. I see so many things that are like, pay for this program, I'll be your mentor. And I mean, you could probably attest to this. How many people, if they called you up, you would give them this information, this advice for free because it really strikes a heart chord. And I feel like there's so many people out there that if you just ask and it's someone that you look up to, they will give you most of the information you need from their heart. You don't have to go spending money for it. You just got to find the right people.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I have a blast coaching people, and I'm not even a coach.
Yeah.
But just helping, encouraging, motivating, inspiring. And I know there are many, many people out there that would gladly give all the information, encouragement, and everything that I'd be willing to give. I think people sometimes are afraid to ask or don't think they deserve it or don't really know where to start. And I think it's just, kind of being willing to take that courageous step and actively looking for it. And then when we see it, just simply asking.
Absolutely.
The worst that can happen is they say no, but
just knock on another door.
I found that most people, like you said, are willing to help, especially a kid who's trying to get out of the situation they're in. I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So Sachiko, where you started and where you're at now is just so incredibly inspiring and it's truly amazing. And if you could give one piece of advice to the listeners that you've taken with you over the years that's really helped you out and carried you on, what would it be?
Oh gosh, one piece of advice. I think the first one is to figure out how to love yourself, validate, connect with yourself, because all of the answers are inside most of the time. And regardless of what we've been through, we have the ability to literally figure anything out and do anything we put our minds to. But it starts with knowing that first. And I spoke to a group of young entrepreneurs, kind of at risk, would be homeless high schools, which is so amazing. This organization, Stand Up for Kids, is doing amazing work. I got to speak to a chapter that was finishing an entrepreneur program. And I stood on stage and I told them, be grateful for your story. And that would be a really annoying message if my story was that I, grew up in white collar America and, lived a cushy life. But I've been through a lot of chaos and I'm able to look back on it and feel really grateful for that because it has given me the ability to do and give and have the character that many, many people aren't able to. You can't just implant character. You actually have to go through stuff to develop that character. And so they got to experience it really young, which I believe makes them even more capable for greatness later.
I think that's a huge advantage.
I want them to see that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't like the story. I don't like the narrative of, privilege and disadvantage. And I get it. And again, there's validity to it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like underprivilegedness serves me more than having all of the resources would have.
Absolutely.
And I'm super grateful for it.
Absolutely.
For sure.
At the end of the day, you got to be able to stand on your own 2 feet in this world. And if it happens at a young age, retrospectively, it's a huge advantage because I believe in massive chaos, you could definitely find your purpose.
Yeah, totally. And, and their experience is valid. Their feelings are real. Like all that stuff is real. Yeah. It's just like, if you could sit in that, feel those feelings and give yourself the love required to take the next step, then you'll keep getting toward that, Don.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So Sachiko, where can people listen to your podcast? Where can people find you online?
Yeah, I'm super excited about my podcast. Waitforthedon.com is where kind of all the links are, but of course it's on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher and SoundCloud. And what I love about that format is that we are taking an everyday approach to this conversation about dreams. So instead of talking to the multi-million-dollar athlete and the, actress and the charting musician, we're talking to everyday people who are doing that 4%. And so what's great is that, there's an opportunity for anyone who's listening to potentially be featured if they have a great story to tell and a conversation about dreams that, will resonate. They can go to our website, waitforthedon.com, and apply to be featured. And they can also submit music. And then my favorite is our shout outs and kudos and encouragement. We are shouting out other people that are doing great things or other people who have taken those leaps of faith. So really waitforthedon.com. You can get to everything. My podcast is my,
it's your baby.
My mission. It's my baby. It's my little love of my life. And, through it, my music is connected and you can get to the event stuff. It's all there.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You have an incredible story. It was a pleasure sitting here and listening to it. I really loved it.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it. And I love what you're doing. The synergy between our worlds is awesome.
I love it too. Yeah.
So we'll have to connect. Maybe you can come hang out on my podcast.
I would really love that.
Tell your story.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Awesome.
All right. Absolutely. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you everyone for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, subscribe, give us 5 stars, and leave a review. It really helps boost the podcast and spread the good word. My chiropractic practice is located in West Orange, New Jersey at Montclair Upper Cervical Chiropractic. You can also find us on Facebook at Montclair Upper Cervical Chiropractic. All of my information is on my website at drkevinpecca.com, drkevinpecca.com. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Dr. Kevin Pecca for podcast episodes, patient testimonials, and educational videos. I have daily affirmations and inspirational quotes on Instagram at Easel Affirmations, EASEL Affirmations. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at drkevinpecca@gmail.com, drkevinpecca@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Cheers.